Hey everybody, welcome back. It's another episode of the Spartan Shadows podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris, and I'm joined with my co-hosts, Zack and Emmett. Coming to you for a rapid reaction. MSU travels to Ann Arbor and defeats the Wolverines in a pretty satisfying game for us here in East Lansing. Pulls into first place again in the Big Ten, up a half game now on the Wolverines. And guys, that one felt good. How are you guys feeling tonight?
Good. Can't complain too much. Obviously love beating your rival, especially on the road as well. Historically, at least in the past couple of years, not last year, but it always seems like these two teams, when they're good, they always split kind of that home team kind of wins, road team loses, stuff like that. Obviously, still can happen, but getting a win at Michigan always feels good.
Yeah, it feels really good to beat your biggest rival, especially when this is a team that you needed to beat in order to continue to stay in that Big Ten title race. And it's not often you can give up a 15-0 run to a team and still emerge on top. So this team is resilient. One fact pointed out actually by Anthony, a friend of the podcast, at The Real Shardy on X. MSU, when they do not win in the Chrysler Center, they do not make the Final Four. They never have under Izzo. Meanwhile, they are 8 for 19 all time in making the Final Four when Izzo wins in the Chrysler Center. So this was something that is needed to prove their strength, I would say, in order if you want to see this team make that Final Four run, if you want to see them in San Antonio in April.
So don't cancel your flights to San Antonio just yet, Spartan fans, because we're still hoping and dreaming. But yeah, big win for the boys tonight. Like Emmett had kind of alluded, giving up the 15-0 run early in the first half after we had came out what I thought really really strong. Jace came out of the gun just shooting the lights out of the ball and playing really energetically. I thought the team was playing defensively as well as they could, and really strong start. Got up, I believe, what was it, like 16-8, real early. And then then the wheels kind of fell off. We couldn't make a shot. Turnovers kind of reared their ugly head. Some kind of how do I want to say it nicely? Some mental errors that led to some questionable decisions. But Michigan was shooting the ball well. I think for most of the first half, they shot over 50% from the field. And they just kind of dug themselves in a hole. But credit to Izzo and the Spartans, got back on track and pulled the game within, I believe, one possession or 4 points at half.
4 points,
And
yep.
yeah, and the second half took over and kind of really established themselves. And the rebounding, especially down the stretch of the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game, the rebounding was spectacular. Getting out 3, 4 possessions on the offensive end without having to go play back defense, making shots. I thought Jackson Kohler played really well. I thought Xavier Booker had good stretches at times. Simon Zapala played well at times. So the bigs really were able to contribute, and Jace was Jace and kind of took over the game. And hey, when that happens, we're in a good spot. Final score, I don't think I actually said the final score. It was a 75 to
75.
35-62.
75-62. I had it and then I didn't have it, so I knew it was a multi-digit or double-digit win. So hey, like I said, big win. Zach, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, you kind of really saw this MSU team what's been all year, especially lately, because you saw the game against Illinois. You go down big at Illinois, you respond, you make a run, you get it close, head into a half. Exactly what happened in this game. We've seen that kind of happen in the past as well in games that obviously you didn't win. You saw a fight against USC. You saw a fight against UCLA. Obviously, we don't want to talk about those games because those results obviously isn't as fun as this one is. But you really kind of saw what this team has been this year. And I think that is a team that, like you were talking about, Chris, they're a resilient team. They're going to have the whole mantra of strength in numbers. That's exactly what they are. And then I really think Jace Richardson was a huge part of kind of getting this team going early on, because one thing that this team, especially when it was kind of not playing extremely well, is they would always get off to slow starts. They did not get off to a slow start at all. You could see that step back three by Jace, absolutely worthy of an NBA type player. Obviously, hope he doesn't go to NBA after this year. I know he's been getting a lot of hype there. Do whatever you can to get him back into East Lansing next year. But you could really see how much this rivalry meant to him. But you could also see guys like Trey Howellman, he hit 3 big threes. If there's one of two kind of players on this team that can really get this team and kind of crowd going, it's either Cohen Carr dunks or Trey Howellman threes. You saw that Trey Howellman did against Minnesota with his 3 threes. You saw Trey do it against Michigan to go up 11 later on in this game. Really, there's something that has to kind of do with a little bit of a number 5 and a headband against Michigan at times. So Trey was great this game. Absolutely loved Trey. Ben Akins struggled to shoot. That's kind of his story of the season. Did end with 11 points. He had a couple of huge points down the stretch. Jeremy Fears, guess what? The bank is open on a Friday night. I didn't realize that, but turns out the bank is open. Love seeing that bank shot. You kind of saw that it was kind of MSU's game at that point after that bank shot. Carson Cooper, though, I have to give full-on credit to Carson Cooper.
Yeah.
He kind of locked this game down, especially at the end. I don't want to say it was ever kind of outside of that run Michigan went on that kind of got it down to 3 points. He had a couple huge offensive rebounds towards the end of the game, caused Michigan to foul a couple of times, get it to 8 fouls. Jaden Akins had a huge offensive rebound off of a missed free throw as well. You could really kind of see that it was kind of the point of the game where MSU's been similar points against, again, USC, UCLA, where you kind of feel like, I don't want to say like helpless a little bit watching, but you kind of just see that the other team just continues to get offensive rebounds. You're like, why won't you rebound? Like, I felt like that was kind of us, but like we were like, hey, like all these offensive rebounds. Carson Cooper was great. You have to give him full credit. Colin Carr would love to see him hit those free throws, but yeah, really can't complain too much, especially going down 4 at half after giving up basically an 18-2 run. I think you saw what Michigan was this year, a really talented team, a team that goes on runs. Danny Wolf can be special at times. He was during that run, but I think you see MSU respond right back and be resilient, and that's just what this team is, and it's always fun to be a rival because of that.
Yeah, I agree that this team is extremely resilient. Always great to beat a rival. One thing that stood out to me, 75-62. Second half domination does not really reflect, I would say, the first 35, 40, 45 minutes, 35-ish minutes of play, because MSU closed on a 9-0 run. The Spartans were able to capitalize at the very end. Michigan went on a 4-12 scoring drought to end the game. Some of the fouls, I saw this posted on Twitter that Michigan should have gotten a couple and ones when they were called on the floor. Michigan State saw some of that on their own, too, with a late drive by Richardson that should have been an and one. So I understand the frustrations. I know travels were not called for either team until the very end to Michigan late. So I do understand that, but at the end of it, you have to understand this game. You have to understand the Big Ten refs are going to Big Ten ref. It is a mixed bag whenever you watch one of these Big Ten basketball games. Even if it's not one of your teams you're actively invested in, there's still calls and you're going to be like, what are they calling? What are they doing? Michigan had a couple of those go against them. I believe the Spartans had a couple against them as well during the game. Honestly, I was about to get on you, Chris, about when you mentioned all the bigs besides Carson Cooper, because I agree with Zack. I think Cooper made the biggest impact overall in the game with his 8 rebounds. What was that, 3, 4 offensive?
Yeah,
he was a rebounding machine. I knew you guys wanted to talk about him, so I left him for you guys.
I know, I was about to get on. Yeah, Cooper finished with 3 offensive boards, and I think all of them were in the final 4 minutes of the game, so.
Yeah, the rebounding in general I thought was just really good. Cohen Carr had a rebound in the first few minutes of the game that I thought he jumped out of the arena to get, like, that one. I've seen him jump high for dunks and stuff before. I think that might have been the highest I've ever seen him jump. That was insane. And just throughout the game, you saw, to me, there were stretches where MSU, like I said, had, I want to say, some questionable decisions, some questionable turnovers, really not playing to what they do. But outside of that, it kind of seemed clear to me that MSU just really wanted this game more, and they were going to do whatever it takes to make it happen. And it took a little longer than maybe we had thought it would, but they got to the point in the second half where they just started imposing their will, locking down on defense. Emmett mentioned the scoring drought kind of to end the game for Michigan. Some of that was just some shots not falling on Michigan's behalf, but a lot of it was the defensive effort and the rebounding that MSU had really they just decided they were not leaving Ann Arbor without a win. That was it. So credit to the guys. I know Zach had mentioned when we were signing on that Trey Heilman posted on Instagram that he will meet everybody at Fieldhouse later this evening, and that would be a well-deserved trip for the boys. Hopefully everybody has some fun and is safe. But if you're in East Lansing, go celebrate with the fellas.
Yeah, and speaking of questionable turnovers and corn card jumping out of the gym, there's a few alley-oops after that offensive rebound. It was
Yeah.
like 75 feet to Cohen, just like throwing the ball away. Like I understand like how high he can jump. Like trust me, like we've all seen it, but like you just can't do that at that time of the game as well when things were kind of going bad. Obviously, it didn't really impact the final score because Michigan State won by 13. You could say, oh, well, Michigan State could have won by 15, 17. Is there really that much of a difference between winning by 13, winning by 17? Not really very much, in my opinion. We out-rebounded Michigan by...
I agree with you, but
Yeah, we out-rebounded Michigan by 8, out-rebounded them offensively by 6, which is great to see. But guys, we shot 40.9% from 3. What is happening? We went 9 for 22 from 3. When's the last time we shot 40% from 3? It didn't even seem like we were making that many threes. Like there was points like Trey made threes, Jace made threes, but like
in the second.
But like it was like, is this what a normal shooting team does? Because
We shot
like
50% in the second, by the way, 6 for 12.
yeah, so
Hey,
if
we've
we
said it
can
all
make-
year.
go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, we've said it all year. If this team shoots over 35% from 3, we're going to win the games. It's just, I could proven that if this team can hit any sort of 3-point shots consistently, they're a tough out. They're not going to be beaten by many teams.
Yeah, I honestly, because I think like the one time we shot over like 35% early on was against like Memphis, and we didn't win that game. So I
Yeah.
thought it was going to be like, if we keep under 35%, we'll win every single game. But if we go above, we won't. But it turns out that's not true at all. So when you shoot 40.9% and you also hold Michigan to 24 points in the second half as well, that's going to be a recipe for success. And I think MSU kind of started to figure out a little bit of that zone towards the end, which is kind of nice to see. I think they kind of struggled a little bit early on, but they started attacking that zone. So hopefully, if any other team goes zone against us, hopefully we can do a little bit better. I know Izzo did say in his press conference, we'd love to see a zone for 40 minutes. No, we would not. Please don't zone for 40 minutes.
On that. I'm good on that.
At least for fans, I hate watching a zone, especially going up against Michigan State. So please don't do zone. But overall, shot the ball pretty well offensively. Got the big buckets when we needed to. Got the stops when we needed to as well. And yeah, I thought defensively we did pretty well. I know Vlad got 21, Damari got 12, but Danny only got 11. Like you did what you had to do on like the kind of like 3 big guys. Trey Donaldson only had 3 points in this game. Like he's their third leading scorer. So if you can hold Michigan to that, you're gonna win against Michigan quite a bit, and you just have to give credit to the team for doing it. So good win, happy win. Obviously, like I said earlier, love beating your rivals.
Yeah, well, you have to go back to the guard play, which was something Chris and I had previewed when we talked about coming into this game, was that Michigan State has to win, preferably dominate, in the guard play battles, and that's exactly what they did tonight. I believe the combination of Akins, Fears, Richardson, and Hallman combined for 60 points, I believe. And when you have your 4 guards put up 60, it's going to usually result in good things, I would say.
Yeah, nope, they did, and I felt at times the defense kind of started playing that similar to what we would do against Zack Edey in the previous years, and just kind of, Edey's going to get his and do what you can to try to slow him down, but we're not going to necessarily try to over double and triple team him a lot. We're going to, put somebody down on him, hopefully can hold their own and just not let the Braden Smiths or the, Jaden Ivies from a few years ago go off and beat you. And if you can, let Zack Edey just not go nuclear, but let him get his 20 points and hold the rest down, then, that's going to be a pretty decent shot to stay in the game. And that's kind of, I think, Vlad was going to get his and did get his, but outside of that, I think we were really good. And I mean, Danny Wolf had some big buckets, but other than that, I think we kept him relatively in check. And like you said, Zach, the other scorers didn't really do much either. So yeah, good effort. I like it. Like to see it repeated in a couple weeks at the Breslin Center to close out the season. But yeah, no complaints on this end for me. You guys got anything you want to add before we jump off?
One small gripe, free throw shooting. 10 for 15 tonight, second game in a row below 70, and third game below 71% because they were at 70.8 against, I believe they were 70.8 against Illinois or 70.8 against Purdue, something like that.
Something about that.
Yeah, so that's something you got to get on the team against because leaving 5 points on the board tonight in a 13-point victory, whatever. Leaving 5 points on the board later in the season against Michigan or in the NCAA tournament, definitely.
Just Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin for sure. Michigan State, Big Ten update for the championship scenarios. In order to lock it up, Michigan State still needs to technically go undefeated, assuming everyone else wins out. Well, besides Michigan, Wisconsin wins out. Wisconsin also needs MSU could tie with Wisconsin having the head-to-head victory if they go 3-1. And then Michigan, the best Michigan can do, assuming the Spartans win out, is a overall tie, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, no, we would stop.
We would need
Yeah.
we would need help. So as much as I hate to say it, we're going to be big Illinois fans for the next week because Illinois has Duke in an out-of-conference game where you could see the Spartan seeding affected. And then also, I believe they have Michigan, correct?
Yeah,
On Saturday,
at
I
Michigan.
believe.
And do they play Wisconsin again, too?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so. Wisconsin, I think, has a bunch of cupcakes other than us again. But yeah, cupcakes being a relative term because it is the Big Ten. But yeah, so ideally you'd like to have MSU winning out, but you can. What today did is you can afford to drop the game in the Breslin Center and still potentially win the Big Ten. Depending on how else the game in the Breslin Center against Michigan, I guess I should clarify. Depending on how everything else falls, we don't want to lose that game because it's senior day, and we don't want to lose to Michigan ever. But if you can beat Maryland and Wisconsin in the next few games, that would all effectively wrap up the Big Ten championship if you were able to do that.
Iowa. If you can pad with Iowa, then too. Iowa is competing for even being eligible for the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah.
So that's something that if the Spartans can capitalize, get an extra win there, then
easier said than done. It's the two really tough teams, and
you're off.
Yes, but yeah.
I would say one thing real quick though. Celebrate tonight. Don't think about those games. Enjoy it for a couple of days. We play on Wednesday. Let's hopefully play well on Wednesday. But enjoy it for a couple of days, and then we'll see what happens in these next 4 games.
Like the old saying, 24-hour rule, go live it up, and let's get back to work tomorrow. And on that note, we'll probably do something similar. We just wanted to give you a updated rapid reaction to tonight's game. I don't know exactly when we're going to do our next episode, and that we'll do a bit more of a breakdown for hockey, baseball, softball, some of the basketball stuff we missed, kind of catch you up on all that, and then preview the upcoming basketball stuff. So look for that within, I don't know, the next few days probably. And then hopefully we'll be back on a regularly scheduled program here. We appreciate everybody tuning in like usual. Any questions, comments, concerns, hit one of us up on social media. The podcast social medias, which are linked in there. Email us, which is also linked in the description, and give us a follow and shares and all that fun stuff. Gentlemen, I appreciate you hopping on with me. It's been a fun night. Hopefully we can continue it again the next time. And hey, everybody, go green. Have a good night.
Go white.